I wanted to show you guys a little bit of me. So you guys could at least get to know like where I came from, what am I doing. I was sitting in these chairs not that long ago, guys. I'm 31. So I didn't leave BYU until 2007, but don't tell anybody, I didn't actually get my degree until in 2009. So that's like hardly any years ago, you know? So just so you know, it's like, hey, this is, you guys are doing what you should be doing. Okay, so let me show you, I want to show you if you, I served a mission in Brazil. Did anybody serve a mission in Brazil? Whoop, whoop. It's awesome. I was in Porto Alegre, the furthest south you could go. And what I was going to say is that when you serve a mission, and if you work really hard, sorry, this is just Facebook. If you work really, really hard on your mission, what do you typically get when you work really hard? That's what I'm talking about. My wife is gorgeous. And she is more gorgeous on the inside even. That's the best. So I was super lucky, and I was in the communications program. And I thought when I went on my mission, I was like, okay, I'm going to come back and I'm going to go do an MBA. Because that's what everybody said I should do. I'm a business guy, so I should go do an MBA, right? Everybody smile. Selfie time. You have to do it. My screen's broken on the other side, so sorry. I'll tweet that. So I went on my mission thinking I was going to do an MBA. And I did the mission. I absolutely loved Brazil. I loved the people of Brazil. I just loved everything about it. I had such a good time. Yes, it was extremely hard, just like all of you guys have been there. It was very hard, but it was just amazing. Well, I got back. I started looking at majors, and a couple of my mentors, and I'll talk about mentors in a little bit, suggested that if I was going to do an MBA, I probably shouldn't get a business degree because, you got to be well-rounded, so you got to do something different. And so I thought, okay, whatever. Let's figure out a degree that I could get into. And as I was trying to figure that out, a few guys here at BYU had just started a company called Seatability. Pretty creative name. What do you think we did? Seatability. We imported office furniture. Seats, right? So they had served their missions in Taiwan, and they knew kind of the whole Taiwan thing, and so they imported this office furniture from Taiwan, and they had heard through the grapevine that I was like this master sales guy. Well, I had never met them before, but I guess their friends said I was okay at that. And so they asked me to get involved at this chair company, and I was like, I don't know what the heck that's, what is an entrepreneur? Because I didn't even know what that was, to be totally honest. My dad's a foot doctor, my brother's an ears, nose, and throat doctor, my other brother's an attorney, and then my sister married a dentist. Like, I had nobody in my family was an entrepreneur. But I got involved with them anyway because it just sounded like a lot of fun. Didn't pay myself for 2 years. None of us did. But I was able to sell my ownership back to my partners. And I got like 25 grand cash out of the deal. How cool is that? I was a single college student. I got 25 grand. I thought that was awesome. And then the other kicker was that I got $25,000 worth of chairs. Because I was supposed to get paid 50 grand, but they couldn't pay me all 50. So they're like, here's the 25, and oh yeah, here's a whole bunch of chairs. So guess what everybody got for Christmas that year? Yeah, everybody in my family got these chairs. They were bungee cord chairs. How cool. Like literally bungee cords, except they were flat, and you sat on them. It was so cool. And they break like crazy. So it's like you're sitting on it, slaps you in the butt. You're like, whoa. But I tell you that, so I got involved in this startup thing, trying to figure out what the startup world was. And so I picked the communication program because I thought, you know what, if I do communications, I can probably handle like being an entrepreneur and doing communications. And schooling, I'll be honest, I was probably not the most scholarly of those folks here at BYU. But I was lucky enough to get in. I had to go to the summer term to get in here, but at least I got in, right? And communications was perfect for me. So I did communications. I barely squeezed by passing classes. And I'm just giving you the honest truth. I wish I could say I was a 4.0 student. I was not. But I at least made it. I got married to this hot one. when right before we left, so in 2007, I was able to convince her that she should marry me, even though I was too short, according to her. So girls, come on. You can be short and still be cool. She wanted some tall guy, and I was like, what are you talking about? I'm all that, and we made it work. And look how happy we are now. Isn't this cool? We have so much fun together. It's just like ridiculous. And we have now been married almost 8 years. And let me show you this. Oh yeah, and look at, she even looks great dressed up. You got to think of these things, right? If you're going to be an entrepreneur. No, I'm just kidding. She lets me buy cool things like motorcycles. So, bought a motorcycle. And let's see here. Oh, so this is kind of fun. So this is still too old, but I got at least some more about the family because it's just, we're here at BYU. So this is fun. So every year we go to the Oregon coast. Here's the oldest. I don't know, he's probably like 3 or something. Isn't that a funny face? His name's Hutch. And you've got Priya. So the story behind Hutch. Okay, and I'll be fast on the family stuff. But Hutchings is my middle name, which is my grandpa's middle name, and my great-grandmother's maiden name. So his name is Hutchings, but you can't call him Hutchings. So it's Hutch. My wife spent some time in India doing humanitarian efforts, and she met a little girl there named Priya. And so we named our daughter Priya after that girl. And then little baby in her arms is named Beck, after my grandpa Beckstead. Everybody called him Beck. And then baby number 4 is currently in my wife's belly, and in 3 weeks, we will have our fourth little baby, a girl. And we don't know the name yet, so we're open to suggestions. Oh, by the way, I grew up in the Bay Area. She grew up in Portland. We met here at the wonderful University of BYU. And that's how we made everything work. Cool about the family? Do you guys feel like you know me a little bit better? That's me. Okay, that's my Facebook. If you want to find me, I'm on Facebook. It's probably better to be on Twitter, though, but that's okay. Oh, here's more updated. There we go. There's the pictures. Cute, huh? Cute kids. My wife tells us to have cute kids. Okay, I'll leave that up for a little bit. It's better. It's better to look at that than this. Okay, so guys, I gave you a little idea. BYU led me to this kind of startup world, and again, didn't know entrepreneurship even existed. I just didn't even know what that meant. And I was able to get involved with the company. None of us had any clue what we were doing. We were all students. We were all like 21, straight off the mish, and literally we were lucky enough to even survive for the years that we did as a business. We participated in the BYU, what they called the Entrepreneur of the Year Awards. Do they still do that? Yeah. So the coolest thing about these awards, as a student specifically, is that if you can apply and even get anywhere in that spectrum of being ranked with these guys, you get a little bit of clout. And that clout can help you to get introductions, and introductions can help you to get a whole bunch of things. And so we ended up doing the Entrepreneur of the Year, and we took 4th place the first year. And then how many of you guys have eaten at J-Dog's? Love J-Dog's. Woo woo. He beat us the second time. So he was 1st place, and we took 3rd place in the next year. And love J-Dog's to this day. He's great. But did BYU and started in the entrepreneurship world, but I was not like an entrepreneurship student. I didn't have formal training. All I had done before that was sold stuff. And I had sold a lot of stuff. And so I had started selling stuff when I was 15 in my very first job at an athletic club, where they literally gave me a phone book and said, call the phone book and set up meetings for our closers, for the people who would like close a deal. And so I would set up these meetings. They paid me an hourly rate and then $1 per appointment. Guess how many appointments I set? A whole heck of a lot of them. Because I was thinking, heck, I can make money on appointments. So I just lined them up with appointments. Funny thing later, 2000 and when did we start? In 2009, started my last business before the current one. We were an outsourced cold calling company. And we actually cold called businesses for a living. How weird is that? I did it when I was 15 and started a company when I was 25 doing the same thing. Weird. Weird how things happen. Okay, guys, but some of the things that I learned along the way of this little stint, while I was at BYU, some of the best things that I learned was, number one, you have to have fun because college is supposed to be fun. So if you don't feel like you're having enough fun, go have some fun. If you are having a lot of fun, you can go have a little bit more fun. And it's okay because you know what? You're going to pass and you're all smart, so I'm not worried. But go have some fun and live it up while you're here at BYU. This is one of the most unique places you will be for the rest of your life, being around such phenomenal people. I took a picture, and don't tell anybody, I took a picture when we were praying. Because you just don't see that anywhere, right? I mean, that is only here at BYU, that you get to pray before a class. And so I took a picture. Yes, my eyes are open. I'm so sorry. But that's awesome. So take advantage while you're here. Also, as a student, I leveraged my student card everywhere I went. So if I wanted to find out about another business or if I wanted to find out about a potential career, I would call those businesses or that individual that I really wanted to talk to, and I'd say, hey, I'm a student, and I'd love to do a report on you or your business or your whatever. And I would get them to talk to me for almost an hour. And there was no reason for them to waste an hour with me, but I was able to milk them for whatever I could get. And so I started building relationships at this really young age, as in college, with a lot of the entrepreneurs here in Utah. And I started building these friendships that turned into mentorships or advisor type roles. And now they're just buddies because we've known each other for so long. But I did that as a student because I could leverage that student card. Don't underestimate the student card because you guys can do so much being a student. It's unbelievable. Okay, so make sure you leverage being a student and getting in the door and talking to people and write reports about whatever, interview people, go to their homes, do all the stuff as you can. It's phenomenally, it'll help you forever. Second, then, those competitions. Competitions were absolutely vital for us because it gave us deadlines and it gave us what I would call timelines to follow and things that we had to learn to be a part of those competitions we didn't know beforehand. And so we started learning and being in these competitions, and that helped. And then it helps us to also network with other like-minded folks to be able to get there. Come on, you can't have a screensaver. You got to look at my kids. And so competitions were huge. Yes, get your degree if you can. That would be awesome. And I did. I made it. I'm sure a lot of the folks who come and talk didn't even get their degree, right? Some of the guys. I at least did it. It only took me a couple of years after I left to do it, but I got it. And then really when BYU came to an end, I realized that I had lost all of my leverage as a student. All of these free resources, free internet anywhere I wanted, and free mentorship and advisors, and all of these resources were gone, and I was left to my own. The reality set in. Just a little bit more on my story. I then started, I sold my little ownership with that Seedability company, and then I went and helped build a sales team for somebody else's company. I felt like I needed to get some more experience. That was just me and my personal situation. And so I was able to go and help build an inside sales team for a company that's now called Money Desktop. Have you guys heard of that one around town? Yeah. I think they just changed their name too, again, to MX or something like that. Cool guys. Ryan Call was a great guy. And so I was working at helping to build that sales team, and then I got invited to join another startup. And I thought, sweet, I'm going to be a part of another one. It wasn't my idea. It was other guys' ideas, and they brought me in because they knew that I was one of the sales guys. I could build a sales team. So I got involved with them, and over a year, I helped to build an inside sales team of about, let's see here, was it 8 or 11 when I left? I think 11 or so folks inside. And we were doing, guess what? Cold calling. Jeez, I'd done it forever, right? So we were cold calling other businesses, and a private equity firm came and acquired the majority of that company. So private equity guys with a whole bunch of money, and they buy you to help you. They want you to grow faster, and then they resell you. That's private. And you guys are all familiar with that, I'm sure. And when that happened, I ended up leaving to start my own business. Right in the interim, there was an incubator called Junto Partners. And Junto Partners was a local venture capitalist, Greg Warnock, who's currently the venture capitalist at a firm called Mercado Partners, and his partner, Alan Hall. he built a company in Ogden called MarketStar, and they employ like 3,500 people. I tell you this really briefly so you guys get an idea. I went through this incubator where they took young guys and gals like us, and they put us through this 8-week course, and it was kind of like The Apprentice on TV. Has anybody seen? I know it's probably not even on anymore, but The Apprentice TV show where Donald Trump, like, you're fired. That show. We went through this 8-week incubator and did all these challenges and whatnot, and we kind of learned the hard knocks of entrepreneurship in this incubator. And at the end of the incubator, I don't know, a couple hundred applied. They chose 20 of us, and at the end, they selected 5 to become partners, and that they would give us mentorship. And I was lucky enough to be part of that 5. And that little piece gave me enough gumption to say, okay, I think I'm going to start a business on my own. So very first business, Seedability, there were 6 total partners. My next company I was involved in, there were 4 of us. And I thought, you know what, I got to give it a shot on my own. And so I started Launch Leads. Totally on my own, no partners, no funding, nothing. I went to my wife and I said, hey babe, will you support me until I can make enough money to take care of our family? And she didn't have any idea what I was doing. She was like, well, I don't know. I mean, what does that mean? I was like, well, we're going to go from dual income to a single income. That's your income. And I'm going to try and start a business. And she was like, yeah, you know what? I trust you. I was like, what? You're crazy. But that's awesome. So she totally trusted me. And we made a deal. I said, okay, I'm going to start a business. And as soon as, if we're going to have a kid sooner or later, right? As soon as we have our first child, if I can't support our family, I'll quit and go get a job. That was kind of our rule. That like, if I wasn't going to drag the family through the mud, I was going to work my tail off until we had enough to pay myself. Well, it took me, let's see here, about 3 months later after that conversation, she got pregnant. And so about 9 months after that, it was about a total of 12 months. We were about to have my little baby boy, Hutch. And I was not quite ready to take a paycheck yet. I had hired a couple employees, but every dollar that I was getting in with customers was going right out to my employees. Like it was just like in and out, and there was like hardly anything left. And man, we prayed and we prayed and we fasted like crazy. And I can actually talk about this stuff because I'm here at BYU. How cool. Whenever I talk at other places, I can't really talk about that kind of stuff. So my wife and I just prayed like crazy and said, okay, the baby's coming. And the goal was that my wife could go home. She wanted to be at home with the kids, and I totally supported that. And so the goal was that she could go home. Well, the same month that my son was born, I was able to pull just enough out of the business for us to survive. And I'm talking like barely survive. To the extent that my wife, over the next 3 years, became a frugal blogger, like a professional blogger about frugal living. Because we had to tighten our belts so much going from a dual income to a single income, and then going from her income, which wasn't that great anyway, to mine, which was even worse when we switched. I mean, we had to like really make things work, you know? And so the idea behind, like the concept behind that was, one, we made rules. I was starting a business, but I made a promise to her that I wasn't going to just do this idea forever and never make something of our lives, right? I had a deadline. If I couldn't support our family by the time we had our kid, game over. I'd go get a job. And so I had that riding me, and it helped me to work really hard to make sure I got there. For the next 3 years at Launch Leads was the company that we started. We help other businesses with their sales. We'll leave it at that. And because again, I've been a sales guy forever, so I started a company in sales. For 3 years, the company barely made enough over our expenses. So we were not really profitable, but like barely, enough for us to survive. And for 3 years, every year I was able to increase my income a little bit better and a little bit better. And then in the third year, the end of the third year, a few of my clients hired away some of my employees and then canceled their contracts. And we went from 30 people to 6 in like 6 months. Not even 6 months, like 4 months. And in that downward spiral, I lost about $200,000. Now, I don't know about you guys, but to me, $200,000 is a lot of dough. And it was riding all on my name because I had signed the dotted line on everything. So all of my credit cards were maxed. I had a line of credit with the bank, totally maxed out. I owed my payroll company $40,000. I owed my landlord $40,000. I hadn't paid certain vendors for months. But I had told them that, guys, I will pay you back. I will make sure to pay you back. But at home, I'm like lying in the fetal position crying. I won't go into all the details. If you had questions on it, we can talk later about it. But made 3 incredible changes to the business. Those changes allowed us to become profitable the next month. I paid off $200,000 in debt in just over a year. And which, if you think about that, that's a lot of money every month, right? Going into paying off people. And then the last 2 years of the business has been quite profitable. And so I've been able to increase kind of my own salary since I pay myself, right? But the amount of blessings that we had throughout that whole process, my wife and I are very, very strong believers in tithing and fast offerings because of a lot of these experiences. So for me, paying my tithing is not an if situation. It is an absolute, like that is a must. And we've seen it time and time again. If we had when we were running into more financial issues in the past, my wife would always ask, did we pay our tithing? And we'd make sure to get it paid that week. And it was amazing to see the differences. Cool, I can talk about that too. Oh my gosh. So cool. But I'm not even kidding, guys. So that was amazing. Temple obviously helps with that too. So with that business idea, I spent about 5 years in that business and continued to grow and learning and built my network to gain some kind of credibility or experience. And then I thought, you know what? I want to build something even bigger. I've got this thing, it's working, it's functioning, it's a great lifestyle business. Have they taught you the difference between lifestyle and growth businesses? Cool. So lifestyle business, it was making good money, it was profitable, but it probably wasn't ever going to be a $100 million business. It was going to be a $5 or a $10 million business, which is fantastic, and there's nothing wrong with that, because that's a great lifestyle. For whatever reason, I had the goals in my mind that I wanted to build a growth business. I wanted to build something that really scaled and really could make a huge impact on millions of people instead of just a few hundred people, for example. And so that's where my latest business called QuotaDeck came to play. How many of you guys heard of Techstars? He mentioned it just a second ago. Just a handful of you guys. How about Y Combinator? A little bit more than that. Okay. So you know these BYU competitions that you guys can be a part of? Y Combinator and Techstars have a little similar vibe. These are accelerator programs where you guys can go and they'll give you money, investment, in exchange for ownership in your business, equity. And then they will mentor you for 3.5 to 4 months with phenomenal mentors, investors, and entrepreneurs who can then lead you to really take that next step in your business. So you apply. So I went to Techstars. We're in the sweatshirt. Went to Techstars in Boulder, Colorado. They had about 1,000 people apply, and they accepted 13 companies. I don't know how the heck we got accepted, but we were lucky enough to get accepted. Techstars has different offices around the country, and the Boulder office, which is their #1 ranking office, we were actually the very first company from Utah to ever go through that. There's been a couple other, I think he had mentioned Owlet as another company. They went through the New York program or Kansas City program. I'm not sure about that one. And there's about 4 other Utah companies who have gone to other accelerator programs. But just as a tip, if you guys have the business and you're starting to function and start to get your business to work, apply. Apply to Y Combinator and apply to Techstars. There's also the local version, which is called Boom Startup. Have you guys heard of Boom Startup? A few more hands? Okay. Apply to these accelerator programs because you will get so much learning crammed into a 3-month time frame. You'll get as much done in those 3 months as you probably would have done in a year. So it's absolutely by far worth your time and effort to go through. Okay, so that kind of catches us up to today with my life. So one thing is I want to make sure, okay, good. I want to make sure that I kind of walk through that history so you have at least some idea of where I've been and know where I came from, which was really sitting right here with where you were as well. This entrepreneurship lecture series was by far my favorite class ever at BYU. Just to be able to hear stories and be able to relate to them and hopefully set my goals and sights to that. But never did I think that I would be actually doing it when I was sitting in the seat. Now, you guys probably already are way far ahead from where I was when I was at BYU. But you guys probably are already there. You're probably already building products, or you're probably already gaining the experience you need, or you're probably learning how to code, or whatever that is, which is way further along than what I knew. And you're making the right steps. Even just being here is huge. How many of you guys have mentors right now that you guys look to as mentors? Okay, cool. Maybe like a third or a quarter of the class. So I wanted to touch a little bit about mentors while I'm here. I'm the youngest child of 4. And I know this might sound totally random, but being the youngest child of 4, I always looked to my brothers and my sister. And whenever they did something stupid and got in trouble, I would learn from that experience and not do that same thing, right? Whenever they would do something and my parents would love and adore them for whatever, I'd probably take note and say, I can probably do that too someday. For me, a mentor is the exact same thing. A mentor or an advisor is someone who you can watch and you can learn from, who's been there before, and who's probably stepped on a few landmines where you don't have to, because they can help you to get your way around. Now, here are a couple key tricks to getting mentors, because I know sometimes it's hard. If you don't have your entrepreneur uncle, or if you don't have a best buddy who's a multimillionaire entrepreneur or whatever it is, having mentors are sometimes hard to come by. So here are a few rules. Number 1, make a list of the people you want to mentor you. So make a list of at least 10 to 20 mentors. Got to bring the kids up again. It's just too good. There we go. You're probably seeing pop-ups all the time of like people. Anyway, make a list, 10 to 20 folks that you would just die to have as your mentor. They can be as high up on the totem pole, like a Mark Cuban, down to whatever you want, right? Make a list. With these types of folks, your next goal is to find a way in. So you need to find an introduction to them somehow. Whether you make an introduction by meeting them somewhere in person, or by you finding somebody who knows them that can make an introduction. But as a student, you guys can use the student card. And even some of those untouchables that you think you maybe could never get in touch with, being a student, you might be able to get in the door. So make that list, then find the introduction. So leverage LinkedIn. Does everyone have a LinkedIn profile yet? Raise of hands. Good. If you don't, go make one. Go make one. It is absolutely critical. So, and leverage LinkedIn and add everybody you meet onto LinkedIn and try and find, or Facebook, whatever you are, to find that in. Once you find a way in, leverage your student card. I'm a student, I'm at BYU, I'm really interested in entrepreneurship, and I would love to take some time to understand your story, or to hear your story, or to write a report, or to whatever. Make it up, doesn't matter. Find a way for them to spend time with you, and whether it's over the phone, or whether it's in a meeting, or you're getting together, whatever. You can use Skype or FaceTime, whatever. Get to know these mentors. Now, I say make a list of 20 because you'll probably end up with only 2 or 3, maybe 4. So you got to have a little bit of a pipeline here to be able to start, and then you'll narrow it down because not everybody will be able to help. But you'll find 3 or 4 of those people those are people that you have looked up, you've researched, and you want to find out, and then you find a way in. You take the first meeting and don't ask them to be your mentor. Don't do that. It's way too much pressure. When somebody asks me, hey, will you be my mentor? I'm like, oh man, I don't even know what that means. Is that like every day? Is that every month? Is that once a year? I don't know. But all you're doing is just trying to become their friend. And they're going to start mentoring you even without you having to technically ask them to be a mentor. Does that make sense? After you've built a relationship over maybe a few months, then you might be able to ask them for more of a formal mentorship relationship where you get together maybe more frequently or something like that. Does that make sense on the mentorship side? And then the last piece on the mentorship side, keep them up to date. They are invested in you, and so they want to hear what you're up to. If you start a business, you should probably talk to them about it. If you are getting married, they probably want to know about it, right? If you're doing a competition, tell them because they probably know the judges and can probably get you to meet the judges before the competition or whatever. You know what I mean? So leverage these mentors. Cool. Any questions on mentors? Does that help? Yeah, question.
Who are your mentors?
Good question. So my mentors, my mentors have evolved, and they'll most likely evolve with you guys too. When I was here at BYU, I looked towards some of the guys who worked in the entrepreneurship program. And so at that time, there was a guy by the name of Craig Earnshaw. He's currently an angel investor with Park City Angels. He was also my mission president. He and I hit it off in the mission, and when we both got home, we got connected again, and he was an entrepreneur. I looked up to him, obviously, as a mission president. And really, out of his entire mission, I don't know, what are the 500 people or so that throughout the 3 years of his mission, there was only a handful of us that were really interested in entrepreneurship. And so he was able to kind of help me as a mentor. I was also able to get to know, there's a company called SEO.com over on the point of the mountain. Their CEO at the time, BYU grad, he was a mentor that did like alumni mentorship programs. Is that still going? Cool. So he was an alumni mentor. I was able to work my way there. He became a mentor and actually was one of my very first customers at my business, Launch Leads, that I started. So that turned out to be good. There's also another guy by the name of Alex Lawrence. He's up at Weber State. The guy is like most well-networked guy out there. So he has like, I don't know, 100 Twitter followers or something like that. And he's just a phenomenal guy to know. So I was able to get to know him through different entrepreneurship events. And so that helped quite a bit. And then another one was Greg Warnock, that Junto Partners program. Greg Warnock, one of the venture capitalists. So I had venture capitalists as mentors, entrepreneurs as mentors, past CEOs as mentors. And I was able to leverage these guys and kind of get a feel for how they did it and what they did. And I kept really close contact and still am very close to these guys to this day. So great question. Any other questions on mentors? Cool. Okay. So mentors was one of the key pieces. We've got a little bit about the story. And I think with just a little bit of time left, I wanted to walk through how many of you guys ever think you're going to raise money from investors someday? By raise of hands. How many are going to raise money from investors? Okay, so probably half the class maybe. And of those who are not going to raise money, are you looking, how many of those want to start a business someday? How many want to start their own business or join a startup or something? Okay, cool. So I wanted to kind of show you guys a little bit about my current business and what's called a pitch deck. Do you guys study investor decks while you're here? Probably not the right time. But I wanted to give you a hint of what this looks like. So I'm going through the process of raising money right now. So we raised $400,000 before I went to this Techstars program from a couple of the investors here in Utah. How I did that was really, I went to them and I said, hey man, you guys have known me for 5 or 6 years because I've been building this last business. I'm going to build another one in the same industry. What do you say? And honestly, that's all it took. And they wrote me a check. That was pretty cool. I don't think that's normal. So I don't think that's normal. But because I had built a reputation in this industry I'm in this business-to-business sales industry, and I'm building another company in the same industry, they were able to trust that I knew kind of what I was talking about. So, but now I'm raising another round, so it's closer to like $1 to $1.5 million, which is kind of a lot of money, right? And so these investors are taking this quite seriously. This is not just let me just throw a few $100,000 at you. It's kind of a big number. So they want to see what's called an investor deck. This investor deck allows people to see in somewhat of a concise way. I'm going to pull it over here. Ooh, where's my mouse? Do you guys see my mouse? There it is. Where do I go? This way. Whoa. Multiple screens, sorry. Oh, there it is. Okay. Let's see here. If I press play, it'll probably go on the next screen, huh? I'll do it here. So these investor decks allow people, there it is. Wow, that is big. Investor decks allow these investors who are extremely busy and hardly have any time to talk to anybody to really kind of cruise through your business idea, potentially even without you talking to them, and see if they like your business idea. So if you guys were to do a business plan or one of the competitions here, you're probably going to want to create something similar to get the judges to say like, oh, this is a cool business idea or not. But I wanted to give you a feel for how I'm doing it. And there's some great resources online about how to build. Are you guys okay if we do this, if we walk through this? I think this would be interesting to you guys? Yeah. Okay, cool. So QuotaDeck, we are crowdsourcing introductions. Dun, dun, dun. Pretty dramatic, right? One of the very first things I do is I want to show these guys the market. So this is showing them, and this is not the cleanest way to do it. This is usually, this slide deck that I have here is not a presentation mode slide deck where I would be explaining. This is for them to just be reading. So they're in front of their computer. They don't have my narrative, right? Is that the right term? Narration. They don't have my stuff. And so I have to give them enough information for them to read to know what the heck I'm talking about. So at QuotaDeck, we're crowdsourcing introductions. Well, we're going to start with early adopters that are B2B salespeople. And I want to show them that this is massive. 8 million people out there. Huge. And then there's all these companies, over 230,000 companies that will pay for this service. But, we don't need to go into details of the actual business. But I want to show you that I'm trying to help them see the market, how big it is. If you're building a growth business, this is specifically for growth. And then what I wanted to do was make it relatable. How many of you guys have used Uber? Oh, not many, because we don't really have it in Provo, huh? Do we have Uber in Provo? Yeah. Sweet. You guys should totally do Uber. It's like free money to drive people. Okay. So with investors, they really know what Uber is. Uber is a place where you can get driven around by somebody else. It's like a taxi service, but with somebody's random car. Uber started with a certain segment of the population, which is the black cars. You know those like limousine, like high rollers? Yeah. And then they opened up another product, UberX. Anyway, since Uber isn't as popular here, we'll skip over this. But I wanted to show market. Then I wanted to make sure that they understood, why the heck was I doing this business? Investors want to know why you're passionate about your business, okay? So they want to know that this isn't just something that you think is going to make you $1 million. Because if you get into it for that reason, you're probably going to fail. So they want to know that you understand this world and that you have a passion for your solution. So I was able to describe that I started this company, Launch Leads. Hey, I bootstrapped it to profitability. Hey, look, 20 employees, not too bad. It shows that I have a little bit of credibility, that I've built something already before. Does that make sense? And then I tell them about my pain. We made over 5 million cold calls. And everybody's like, ugh, gross, cold calls. And making 5 million cold calls, we only got a 2% success rate. So think about this, 100 calls, we would get 2 meetings out of those 100 calls. That is pathetic. But that's even better than the industry average. But still pathetic. So there had to be a better way. So do you see how I lay this out? I build credibility. I put a smiley face on there so they know me. I always think it's better to be personal. It's kind of like a real estate agent, like, hey, here's my picture. But so build credibility, describe the pain, and then describe, hey, look, I knew there had to be something better, okay? I nailed the pain even harder and then provide the solution. 2% from cold calls and cold emails. I'm just nailing the pain so that these investors realize that all the rest of their portfolio companies they've invested in are probably doing these things right now, and they suck at it. And they're getting horrible responses. But look over here. If they do this beautiful solution, look how much better it can be. It's more than 10x better. And so we were able to show them this valuable solution. And in this case, warm introductions. Now, the next slide, I wanted to hit them hard. I wanted to tell them that this isn't just an idea. We actually are showing growth. And we're actually showing that we're going up and to the right, because everybody wants to see up and to the right. It doesn't even matter how many numbers are on this side or that side. As long as it's up and to the right, that's what they want to see. It's crazy. But I wanted to show them, hey, we are up and to the right. We are growing, and this is something that is happening, and you are going to have some FOMO if you don't do this. How many of you guys have heard of FOMO? Oh, you guys know it. Well, that's great. So those who don't, fear of missing out. Fear of missing out. They're going to have some major FOMO if they don't get on board right now. Because look at this. We're going through the roof. Okay? So I helped them to show immediately. So I built some credibility. I showed about the pain. I showed the solution. And I'm like, bam, there you go, guys. We're growing. And then I want to prove it to them. I want to prove it to them to say, hey, look, these are some legitimate companies up here. HubSpot just went public, by the way, right? Telling these investors that, hey, look, we've got some pretty killer people. What's interesting is that these folks they're beta testers. They're just testing out the product. Our product is probably pretty crappy right now. But we were able to get some people testing it with us. And so we asked them if we could use their logos and make sure people knew. And we did. So you guys getting the flow a little bit, the flow? One piece then, if you have built a product, is you want to show them your product. So you want to show them that you've actually built something. And in the tech world, typically demos are what's most common. So I have a video here that walks them through a demo of our product. Don't worry, I won't make you sit through it. But it shows people exactly how this works. So they can see that, okay, not only has this guy showed me credibility, pain, solution, oh my gosh, growth, wow, real clients, they actually know how to build something. Because investors want to see that you're not just BSing. And so once I've shown them what we're actually doing, then I want to show them how we make money. What do you think investors are investing for? They want to get a return, right? So by getting a return, I probably need to be done here in 2 seconds, huh? Okay. Pretty much. Okay, I'll finish up. So I wanted to show them exactly how we could make money. And not only do I show them how we think we can make money, hey, we related it to something that they probably understand already, which is Google AdWords, pay-per-click. And then we allowed them to kind of see, hey, look, guess what? If what we just told you is true, here's a scenario that tells them we can be a $100 million business. That's not $100 million in value, that's $100 million in revenue. And in the tech world, you might get a 5, a 7, a 10 multiple, X multiple on that, which turns us into a $1 billion company. When you say growth companies, they want to see how you can be a unicorn. Unicorns are $1 billion companies. So you want them to be able to see, working backwards, how you can be a $1 billion company. I show them that through this equation. All I need are 42,000 users, and I'm set. Cool? Okay, I'm going to cruise. This tells them a little bit more about the business. This one's obviously a key slide. It helps them to know that, hey, we're legitimate. We know what we're talking about. We're the team. And that shows you my co-founders. And here's a few of my newest advisors to your current question. This is these advisors specifically to this business. As you can see, he's one that we talked about. So these are current advisors that I went specifically because they had industry expertise and knowledge in exactly what we're doing. And then the different investors we have, as well as the programs. Have anybody heard of Startup Weekend? Yeah, we won Startup Weekend. How cool is that? You guys can totally win Startup Weekend. And look where it's taken us. Woo. That's pretty cool. And then I tell them what we're raising. And so this is kind of crazy, but I tell them like, hey, I'm raising this, and here's the reason why. So if you're taking notes, and then obviously my contact info. And I can make this available if you guys want, if that's helpful. But that's just a quick rundown of this investor deck. And then real fast, the last bit is this appendix, and I won't even go into it. Here's a whole bunch of slides of like things that they're probably going to ask me that I already know the answer to, and so I built a slide. I've talked to enough people that I know they're going to ask me, why are we different than LinkedIn? And so I did it. Okay, I got to go. I think I'm supposed to meet you guys up at what room?
710.
710, if you're available. You guys, thanks for coming. That was crazy.